People were shocked when they started seeing kiosks rank on Google Maps because they're not traditional businesses.
Redbox was one of the first businesses that shocked people when they started getting listings on Google Maps. After all, Redbox, they're not a business. It's not a place. It's literally a machine that you walk up to and rent DVDs from. Okay. Remember those? Those used to be a thing. Now, the funny thing is, it's not a specific thing to Redbox. We've seen quite a few business models adopt this kiosk model. I've seen locksmiths do it. I have seen moving companies do it, and a bunch of other industries that I wouldn't have expected to have kiosks. And it's become popular to the point where Google has actually set up a specific set of guidelines around when a business is allowed a listing for a kiosk.
I think that's a good starting point, Joy. So what are the rules?
Yeah, so let's break it down. First of all, it's not as simple as like you have a kiosk, just drop a pin, set up a listing. There are some rules and not everybody qualifies for one. For a kiosk to qualify for a Google business profile, there are 3 main criteria that it needs to have. First of all, it needs to have a phone number that is different than the store it is located inside. So using Redbox, for example, if it's inside the grocery store, the phone number for Redbox cannot be the same as the phone number for the grocery store.
And I think a good point on that one, Joy, is there's algorithmic implications and real world implications. Google's telling us they want us to do this for the user so they have a good experience. They call the right person that's listed on the kiosk. There's also issues with, like if you use the same phone number as the store that you're located in, it could cause duplicate issues, for instance. So that's another thing that makes sense and why you'd want to have a separate phone number.
Yeah, actually, pro tip right there. You almost never want to reuse the same phone number across multiple Google business profiles. You are just setting yourself up for disaster because those merges, you can't really undo them easily. And they're just a headache you don't want. So good point, Colin.
And another good point of that, we've also seen many listings that got suspended not be able to get reinstated because of issues with the phone number appearing on multiple other places online. So just don't do it.
Just get a new phone number, really.
Get a new phone number.
All right. So the second rule is that the hours on the listing need to actually reflect the hours that you can access the kiosk. So, if the doors lock up and it's inside the building, you can't say that it's available when it's actually not.
Okay. So wouldn't we just want to list it as 24 hours though? Because hours are part of the ranking algorithm now?
I mean, I probably wouldn't for a kiosk. Again, unless it's accessible outside. If it's outside the business and you can get to it 24 hours, like ATMs, for example, then sure. The third rule is that these can't be temporary, right? A lot of Google business guidelines focus around that. It's the same thing for like business signs. If you want to have a sign for your business that Google will actually accept as evidence that your business is real, you can't just simply stick a sign on your front lawn and be like, yeah, we exist here. So it works the same way with kiosks. They can't be temporary. They can't be one time. It has to be something that is permanently there and that is going to be accessible for a good period of time.
Okay. Quick recap, Joy, because I know you probably have a few more things to say about this. Unique phone number, hours that are actually contactable, like you have to be able to access the kiosk. And then this isn't temporary stuff. If you're setting up a kiosk, it's got to be a permanent fixture wherever it is. As long as you nail those 3 things, you're probably going to be good. But I think you have a few more things to say about this.
Yeah, actually I lied. There's a little more than 3. I said there was 3. There's a couple more that sometimes apply if you don't have staff. I was actually trying to think of like, when does a kiosk ever have staff? But I guess there are some instances where they are staffed. But most that I'm thinking of in my head don't have staff present. In that case, there's a couple more rules that you need to be aware of. The first one is that the company should have a store locator page on their website that clearly identifies where each kiosk is located with the address, phone number, etc.
That one's interesting, Joy. I don't think I've personally heard that one before. Where did that one come from? Is that explicitly called out in the guidelines?
I don't actually think there's a help article for any of this. Part of why I wanted to make this video, because I've been kind of talking to Google a lot about these rules. And I was like, we really need to publish some guidelines around this because I don't think these are listed anywhere, to my knowledge.
Got it. So it's just, this is from our experience. This is what we've seen over the years. And again, it goes back to the theme we've talked about in some of the other videos is it's it's a much better use of time to pay attention to what Google does out in the wild so that you can understand versus explicitly reading everything Google says in the guidelines. Of course, the guidelines are important, but observational, experiential stuff is really what becomes important.
Yeah. And then the other guideline, if you don't have staff, is there has to be a way for them to contact you if they have issues with the machine. Like it breaks down, it's not working, something's wrong. There needs to be an easy way for customers to contact support. So this could be as easy as like putting a phone number on the actual machine. Again, not on the screen, because what if it shut off? What if it got unplugged? So I would make sure that that is something that is somehow worked onto that so that the customers can easily find somebody.
Very cool. I wonder if that will change once we get artificial intelligence to a certain level where you're essentially interacting with a kiosk that can handle everything. I'm sure that's not too far down the road.
I really hope not. I mean, goodness, I have a hard time with customer support for most companies as it is. I really don't want to talk to a bot. But hey, you know what? I get why companies are moving in that direction. I just can't stand it.
Okay, cool. So it's got to have a phone number, or maybe it could have something like live chat. Who knows? Go on.
Yeah. So last one is keep in mind you can only have one listing at one location. I don't know why you'd ever want to, because there's filtering that goes on. But, you know, lots of people have this general idea that more listings is better. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. You cannot have two listings at the same address.
Yeah. And I think this whole idea of listing kiosks really has like significant business implications.
Yeah, I'm thinking like another one that might qualify. So I know you can rent like rug cleaners, carpet cleaners, things like that. Those often have kiosks and they're kind of go help yourself. And I do think that this is a business model that there's actually a lot of industries that could apply it to their business, right? If there's some way for you to have a self-service kind of machine that fits all this criteria, I mean, it's definitely a lot cheaper than having leases everywhere, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of these kiosk type listings for other industries that don't currently have them.
Yes. And I think we could also expect that as soon as an industry discovers that there's an option here that they can bake into their business model, they're going to double, triple, quadruple down on this, like we've seen in the key duplication kiosk world, where I think in one presentation, Joy, you showed how the number of KeyMe kiosks from one year to the next, I think doubled the amount of locations. It was crazy. They were sprouting up everywhere.
Yeah, the locksmith industry in particular, we were tracking that number. It was wild because you can create a bunch of machines a lot faster than open, a bunch of offices. So I'd love to know if you've seen this in other industries, and we've mentioned a few. I'd love to hear about like what are some of the craziest industries you've seen this in, and do you like it? Like, do you like these machines? Are they helpful? Do you think this is a good move? Google allowing them on Google Maps? Tell us what you think in the comments.